Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, the 2023 edition. It'll take me a while to get used to that. And, I say often how excited I am about some interviews that we have. And I have to tell you, having Phil Sharkey, Sheriff Sharkey, as we like to call him on Radio Entrepreneurs, talk about Santos, I think is as hot as it can be. And Phil, you really are an authority on these things. So why don't you hammer it home?
Thank you so much, Jeff. A pleasure and happy 2023 to you as well. And George Santos. So as we say in the screening business here, right down the middle here as far as fraudulency and claims and how someone can move up the ladder and aspire to great levels when nothing they say is truthful. And as we have delved into him in my office here, I'm amazed by how anything he says, I think he's a habitual chronic liar and nothing he says is truthful. So starting like I would for a background screen, Jeff, let's just talk about the man. So he's a 34-year-old immigrant, Republican representative-elect. For people who don't know, that's he's won the seat for the 3rd Congressional District, Long Island, New York. Political affiliation means nothing to me, just like a background check. Republican, Democrat, I'm all about the honesty and the claims, and someone who's going to represent you and is going to represent our country, Jeff, and put their hand forward and say, hi, Jeff, nice to meet you. I'm Phil Sharkey, and I'm telling you the truth or I'm lying to you. Jeff, education is the first claim, and this is the first thing that sort of came out with this gentleman, where it's been proven now by many outlets that he claimed graduation from Baruch College. He did not. He's not a college graduate. He also graduated, claimed from New York University. He's not. He's not a college graduate at all. To me, also interesting is the answer from him. He admitted and he said, well, we all do stupid things in life. And again, sort of the way of our society of today, like it's no big deal, Jeff. I made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You made a conscious choice, correct? Did you graduate from college or not? Is it going to be any more simple than that question? And we know why he did it. Before college, here's where the man gets to be interesting to me. He claimed that he went to Horace Mann Prep School in the Bronx. Now, I know we're getting down to prep school level, but I want to read to you his words, and this gives you an idea of the type of person he was. He says, and these are his quotes, they sent me to a good prep school, my parents, which was Horace Mann Prep in the Bronx. And in my senior year of prep school, unfortunately, my parents fell on hard times, which was something that would later become known as the Depression of 2008. So it sounds very sad, right? Don't you feel for him, Jeff? Don't you get
what a victim?
What a total victim. You're so right. And he went on to say that, they could not no longer afford the $2,500 tuition at that point. So I left school 4 months prior to graduation. Now, here's the problem in the salesman that he is. The claim is totally false. They spoke to a school representative, Ed Adler, a spokesman for the school. They've researched all their records. There's no evidence of a George Santos or any similar affiliation or type of alias name ever attending the school. So again, to me, it's not just the claim of I went there and it was such a sad story and fell on hard times. He created the whole scenario, which goes on to, as we'll show in our later segments, how he's created his whole background. Nothing is truthful. So when you can't even be honest about your high school enrollment, it moves, as we say in the background screening, that's usually where most people falsify an educational claim. That's where most people lie, and they start right there where he becomes a habitual chronic liar, in my opinion. And again, as we discussed, how he tugs on your heartstrings with the story to add to it, like what such a sad claim that he, had to no longer go there for finances. So that's right where we begin with, which moves on to employment. And of course, it's been well documented by people if they're not aware, but he claimed employment with Goldman Sachs and Citigroup as well. And of course, these were lies. Both entities says he never worked for them whatsoever. And he described these lies as a poor choice of words.
Sorry.
Which do you work for them or not? It's sort of an interesting claim. But even further, what I'd like to say is how he used, again, his claim. So again, these are going to be his words, Jeff. This is what he said about when he worked for Goldman Sachs. And this is his quote unquote. Have you ever heard of Goldman Sachs employee, that being him, take the stage at the largest private equity conference in the world, SALT, run by Anthony Scaramucci, and berate their employer? Well, I did that. That was all me. He said this on a local podcast just this past summer. It was about solar, renewable energy, and global warming. His words were, "This is the panel that I was on, and they're all asking about the solar, the wind." And this was back, what, 7 years ago now? And I said that, that this was a scam. It's taxpayer money that gets subsidized. Very strong point, and something that would make me go, "That's interesting." And this sounds like someone's going to fight for me. Unfortunately, Jeff, as you already know, the claim is entirely fictional, according to both Goldman Sachs, who said Santos has never worked for them, and according to Scaramucci, who runs the conference. He told CNN, this is Scaramucci, that not only is there no record of him appearing on a panel, but there's no record of him even attending the conference. So none of that's truthful whatsoever. And it just, the gall to go on when there's easily researchers like myself who can pinpoint this right down to the fact that you weren't there, you weren't on the conference, you never said it. Obviously, I guess your opinion as well, he's using this to attain voters and to better himself in the eyes of potential voters. But false, lies.
Well, it's unbelievable that he could go so far, and we don't check him
When
out.
in society, when do we eventually, I know it's a different world today. I know I'm a little bit older and your word used to be important, but I don't think we could just brush this one aside. It'll be interesting, and we'll talk in
And he
future
gets
podcasts about it.
gets to be sworn in to Congress and vote on the next Speaker of the House.
He does. And do you have any confidence in his vote being not only correct or truthful? I mean, do you have any doubts about his integrity? Any concerns at all? I sure do.
And I actually thought to myself, and if this guy gets thrown out and he gets a pension from Congress, I'll really be upset.
Absolutely. And here's something I want to throw in, as I know our time is limited. The one job they were able to verify that he did work for, congratulations, Harbor City Capital. They did confirm that he was an employee there. Unfortunately, that company has been accused by the Securities and Exchange Commission of being a Ponzi scheme company. So the one verifiable employee they do have is a company that was involved in Ponzi scheming and quite fraudulent. So again, everything, as we say in my business, red flags, etc. I know the party doesn't want to speak about what to do with this gentleman. They don't want to lose the seat. But as we'll chronicle in future, these are just the tip of the icebergs. When we get into his financials, his claims of being Jewish, his claims of family being, refugees from the Holocaust, the finances, I think, are really where he's going to be brought down, if he's brought down, regarding years ago, he was a poor man who was evicted twice in the near history, 2-3 years ago. And then just this past campaign, he loaned his own campaign $700,000.
I don't know why, like other employers you deal with, there shouldn't be a rule for both Democrats and Republicans that all candidates have to be vetted out.
It's a great point, Jeff. And I do have some quotes here from one a Democrat politician who wants to put in, he's actually call it the Santos effect. And there's going to be where they're going to make you have to swear to your education, employment, military history, and it'll become a perjury situation if you falsify and make the claim. They're going to actually try to call it the Santos Act. So that hopefully will be in the works in the future. But this gentleman is a piece of work, and he's still sitting in his office today. And hopefully people react to what has been surfaced and what will be surfaced. Again, it's just the tip of the iceberg. When they get into the finances, I believe, in trying to explain what he did with his finances for his campaign, which I have a lot of information on. I think you'll find that interesting in the future.
Well, I'm looking forward to the Phil Sharkey series on Santos, parts 2 and 3. And if people are listening to this segment, which I really appreciate, and they want to speak to you about setting up proper standards with their organizations, how do they find you, Phil?
Yeah, great, Jeff. For sure, we're on the internet, the hireauth.com, hireauth.com. You can reach us by email and also phone directly, toll free at 888-230-5901. And again, this is what we do to protect small, medium, and large companies from someone coming in and with branding and with falsifying and with could ruin your company with this type of behavior.
Well, Phil, I mean, you've been on this show for, I don't know, about 3 years. And I've told everyone I know about you, and I don't see why people are not using your services. Quite reasonable. This is just going to be a stain on the Republicans. And it's, I'm sure that, and you can see the voters who voted for him are really quite angry. they feel that they've been duped, and it's just not what you want.
They sure are, and I have a lot of quotes in the future, especially regarding his ethnic claims, and people took it to heart. And he was like most schmoozers, I would say, like most scandalous people, he's very likable and can really win people over, and they use that to their advantage and to cause harm.
Liars are charming. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
I've seen it throughout my career. They have that certain pixie dust or whatever it is that they are able to sort of keep their halo on them, and no one ever questions it. They just don't want the conflict. But Phil, again, you've told us how to find you. I want to remind our listeners, this is a very important subject for all organizations. You don't want someone like this in your organization. You want to make sure that not only do you not want them in your organization, but you also don't want them in your client, in the organizations you're doing business with. So Phil, very topical, and I look forward to the next segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.